guys? Welcome to the Champion Chamber podcast. This is going to be the biggest podcast for young men. That's enough said. Let's get into it.
Let's get started. Damn, he's huge. Hey. Oh, he's huge. Oh my goodness. I got a long
Everybody.
But we was talking about the law of the universe. I had a law of attraction. So how do we get this simple law? You're able to say it within a few short words, and we're able to click and hear it and understand it. How can we get it to where somebody who isn't in our circle, like, how can they understand that same concept? How can we make it digestible? Let's not say, let's tell them to go watch this, and what can we do? How can we fix that said problem?
I feel like in order for them to truly retain the information, they would have to be willing to listen. A student only listen to a master if the student is willing to be taught. If a student is just going to fuck around in class and not listen to the master, then he's not going to learn anything at the end of the day, and it's simply going to waste his time. So if an individual truly wants to learn from us, the way to learning about the laws of the universe, they have to be willingly attentive. They have to listen, you know?
I say we could have the person go through some type of exercise or realization. So we could ask them, or we could tell them, the next time you say something negative, see what happens later on through your day. The next time you say something positive, if let's say the whole day you're positive, see how you feel and see how everybody else around you feels and how everything around the universe comes to you. At the end of the day, after being whole positive mood, no negative thoughts, write down on your journal what happened, how you felt. And then the next day, go back to your normal ways. Be negative, do whatever, and write down again, how did you feel that day? And that could go on for a week, couple days. And then after they get kind of used to what the concept is, what the law is, come back to us and give us their thoughts.
I think that's actually pretty dope. Like making it to where it's an experiment where they can actually observe the effects of like what they do.
Yeah.
That might be big, yeah. Like I understand, yeah, go ahead.
It's hard for people to hear and listen and understand from people like us. Like, they don't know us on a personal level. They don't know us. They only know us through a screen and through the internet, you know? If they knew us personally, then we're able to basically affect or transmute our energy, our frequency to them. So they feel the same way and they understand when they're around us, good thing happen, you know?
Yeah.
And regardless, after a few days, they don't feel anything changed or they think it's bogus or whatever, it's going to be stuck in their brain, in their mind. They're going to be like, wait, let me do it again. Let me see if it actually works. Let me do it for a whole week. Let me do it for a whole month. Let me be positive for a whole month. And then even if something negative happens to me, let's turn that to a positive thing and see what happens. It's just all in your mind. It's all in your mind.
It's a great observation exercise, simply journaling and writing down how you're feeling and what external influence or even an internal influence, like your thoughts, for an example, and how it dictates your actions and that dictates the way of how you feel throughout the day. And to build off of what you said, I think the number one thing that a lot of people have an issue with is consumption, because a lot of people consume content on a daily basis. There are a large number of people our age. We're all in our early 20s, by the way, for the sake of the podcast. We're all in our early 20s, military age men, and individuals our age like to wake up in the morning and go straight to TikTok, go straight to YouTube, go straight to Instagram, right? As soon as they wake up. And after you wake up, your brain, when you go to sleep, your brain goes through processes to clean out all the gunk and all the bad shit that your brain formulates throughout the day, right? That's the point of sleep. You know, of course, there's all the benefits with sleep, But as you sleep, your brain cleans out all the gunk and all the bad stuff that your brain doesn't need. It cleans itself out. All right. And when you wake up in the morning, you wake up with a fresh brain, you wake up with a fresh set of eyes, etc. But whenever you attach that to your social media, whenever you watch content, 30-second videos, 30-second videos in the span of an hour, you're already in a state of desensitization. You've already desensitized yourself right off the bat, you know. That's going to dictate your whole entire day. It could be one video, it could be a couple words you've read, it could be your enemies or your ex's post that can affect your whole day. And so it's very, very important to have a good mental diet. Neville Goddard, I don't know if y'all know who that is. He's another branch into The Secret, another branch into manifestation. He interprets the Bible in a way that it's about you. There's a lot of this, it's a whole rabbit hole, but he says to have a good mental diet and to consume things that lead to your benefit. So to build off on what Jose was saying, it's very, very essential to watch what you're consuming, watch what you're thinking, of course, because what you consume, what you think is what you consume, right? All the ideas that we've spoken about in the past and are about to talk about in this podcast have been from books, podcasts, articles, audiobooks, etc. Other ideas from other people, right? Which is a good thing. But on the other side of the spectrum, there are ideas and thoughts that are negative, that are toxic, that lead to no benefit whatsoever, right? And it's just this public agenda that's being pushed down our throats on a daily basis, you know, with the news, with Hollywood, with these celebrities, you know, it's very evil stuff and it's being pushed down our children's throats, right? And who knows what our children will think and act and be 10, 15 years from now. They're the future, you know, and it's very scary stuff. But aside from that, mental diet is extremely important.
Yeah.
So when it comes to mental diet, so I mean, I would say from my observations, like Navi, I would think that your mental diet it's pretty clean. Like it's you watch what you put into your mind, 100%. But for somebody who's like more average, more not as adamant as you, would you think it's still okay for them to have that fine balance between the entertainment and the productive side of like what they consume?
So so you're gonna have to repeat the question because it's
So
so many questions in one.
So do you think it would be a good thing for them to have a balance between like normal entertainment and like productive entertainment, not entertainment, but like content?
It depends on what you want. It depends on what the individual wants because everybody is different. Not everybody is a 100% workhorse. Some people are 75% workhorse and 25% party people, right? And don't get me wrong, you know, Tint, for example, he likes to party, he likes to drink, but he always likes to go to work. He's up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go piss, and he stays up saying, you know what, I'm not gonna go to sleep until I make some money. There are people like that. And so it truly just depends on the individual. And people our age, I feel like we're obliged to work. We have to work. We have to set ourselves up so that whenever we're in our late 30s or late 20s, early 30s, we're in a position in which that we are thankful for our 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old self for the way of how we were thinking, our actions, etc. Because we were in a great position to think the way that we're thinking right now. Our brains have yet to be fully developed. The brain finishes developing at 25, right? And so it's good that because we're still sponges. We're still sponges just like children. Children, they see and observe everything, right? And so to answer your question fully, it depends on the individual. But for an individual who's just starting out, a balance is definitely essential so that they don't burn out as quickly, right? So
So I was just gonna add a little bit with, I guess, implementing more regarding with an individual that's starting brand new into like getting toxic media out of the way, toxic content, useless content out of the way. They could basically get a book, search up on Google, top 10, if they're into finance books, top 10 trading books, top 10 self-help books, mental health books. Get the book, search for the book, see which one you want, go to a local bookstore, get it, and they could just read one page a day. And then after that one page gets easy, you're like, okay, let's do two. All right, let's do three. Let's do four, five, six, seven. And then it'll keep going and going and going because you'll
Mhm.
push yourself some more. You'll be like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Like, I want to learn
Yeah.
more.
Like you make it a
And then,
progression.
and then the same thing with listening to content that's beneficial to you. See, for me, I used to not like podcasts. I didn't understand the whole concept of podcasts. I didn't, I guess, was really into podcasts and it made, the way I made myself like podcasts even more and listen to it while I work sometimes, and even stuff that even when reading, I listen to it sometimes, is have a hobby or whatever you're doing that's like you can have time to listen to. So for me, when I went to the gym, I was like, you know what? Instead of listening to music, let's listen to this podcast. Let's see, let's try it out. And over time, I listened to it. Started out for 10 minutes. I was like, oh, let's go. Let's change it back to music real quick. It's let me get a little bit pumped up. And then after that, change it back. And then while listening to it, I was like, oh, they're saying some stuff that I didn't hear before, and I'm learning a lot more. And these concepts are fairly like good for us right now to use for our future selves. So at the end of the day, it's just implementing it little by little, small margins, small, I guess, portions. So then you can get used to it and really digest the content instead of just like learning everything at once and just hitting it like
Mhm.
hitting at you as a truck. Because if that happens to you, then you tend to be like overwhelmed. Even at like the start, you get overwhelmed, and it just makes, I guess, taking away the toxic content, the useless content, a little bit easier, you know?
So easing into it, having a
Hmm.
progression into like how often you're reading, how often you're listening to, podcasts are going to be beneficial to your life and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. This dude that we talked to at the gym, his name's Austin. He's on the same type of wavelength as us, and he said to us, he's trying to start learning Spanish. And we're like, okay, so how are you going about doing that? He said that he practices Spanish for 5 minutes a day. That's it. Like, well, why are you only practicing 5 minutes a day? Because he wants to start the habit. And he got this from the book Atomic Habits. He wants to at least start the habit and make it a habit before he starts to really incorporate it as a bigger part of his life. Start it small and progress. That's a really good concept in order integrating something into your life.
And then he could also probably add it while working out. Basically, you could probably listen to Spanish music or even listen to, I guess, Spanish commentary of a book or a movie or something like that that's has Spanish in it, where while he's listening, he can recall later on once he learns the words, the alphabet, the dialect or whatever. He'd be like, "Oh, I heard this before. I heard this. Like it's in my brain already. I know what it sounds like."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, some good stuff. A lot of these concepts that we've been trying to, grasp and have like gain the grasp of were a lot of things that were said today at the event that we worked. Um, the woman, the women's empowerment brunch, and the three women on the panel, they're all, above the age of 30, and everything they said was like in line with what we've been talking about for the past couple months. And it's like with them being at that age, it's like it's almost encouraging. It's like, oh, I'm 22 and I'm already thinking the same way that a 40-year-old woman who runs a business, a big successful business, like we have the same way of thinking. So how will I be when I'm 30, when I'm 40? So it's like being able to start now, being able to gain this information now is like it just makes me think, dang, we got to get more people on this, like at age 18, 17,
Yeah.
16,
Cheat
like
codes.
teenagers,
Cheat
cheat codes,
codes.
like we're dropping all the hints,
So
But
make it digestible.
it makes you think
it's
of
just
the
a,
magnitude of influence on the young adults and the young population, especially from YouTube, and from all these YouTube channels, Red Pill, etc. All these masculine based channels and how they're widely influencing young men. And it's like they didn't have this 20 years ago. We didn't have this 15 years ago, 10 years ago. We didn't have this bullshit. And now it's starting to become more prevalent. So you have a lot of 16-year-olds who are thinking the way that we're thinking. So imagine them at 22.
Jeez.
but there's a
Big
lot of
talk.
people. There's still a lot of people that are very ignorant regarding with this whole concept, and the big part of that is society in the whole. You can't control the whole, I guess, population, the whole majority of people, but if we're able to, I guess, influence a small percentage, let's say us four, obviously we're going to influence some people around us. The other people around us that listen to us, they'll influence other people, like let's say four, and then they influence another four, and it just keeps going on, and we grow, we grow, we grow. But we're not feeding useless information. We're not going like, um, I don't know, like we're not prank a channel. We're not, you know, doing any how
Wasting
to
time.
pick up how to pick up girls, top ten advice to pick up girls, or some
Yeah.
advice that doesn't really correlate to how you should really think. It's just like useless content.
So I have a question for y'all. So I saw a video a couple of days ago, and it was talking about self-improvement, and it was talking about like the toxic side of self-improvement. So I wanted to see like what you guys think about self-improvement and if it can ever be toxic. We talked about burnout, but is there any other,
You don't understand the context of toxic and what that person's describing. Like what type of like is the person who's going through a self-improvement journey, or they become an asshole or a dickhead, or do they have does their ego increase? Do they think that everything is about them or something in a toxic way, or do they belittle other people who are not on their self-improvement journey? Like, what is this context?
well, I mean, toxic in the general sense is like anything that you just described now. So it's like, do you think that you yourself could fall into that trap of, oh, I'm on my self-improvement journey. I'm better than you know? Or in the
Well,
sense that,
yeah, well, continue, and then I'll give my
or in a
question.
sense like to yourself, it's like, oh, kind of like how I said before, it's like you're not accepting of yourself now because of what you want in the future. So it's like you kind of disregard the work that you did prior to now and the work that you're doing now because of the future that you wish to have or you desire.
Yeah, and that's a good point to start with. I think so. And that is definitely extremely toxic because people don't realize they've made accomplishments in the past. It's like David Goggins in The Cookie Jar. If y'all have read his book, the cookie jar example is that if you're doing something extremely strenuous or extremely difficult, right, in the middle of it, think about the accomplishments you've had in the past and allow that to be fuel for the current strenuous bouts that you're currently doing. If I'm running a half marathon and I'm on mile 8 and my legs are already burned up, I'm gassed out, and I think about some accomplishments that I did, years back or months ago that I thought I would never do, but I ended up doing it, it's going to be fuel for the rest of the race. So that's just to battle that last point that you said. But with my personal experience on belittling people or my ego would be ran up, is that when you're on a path of greatness and when you're on a path because we only are going to be in this body forever. We don't have any other bodies that we're going to be into in this current lifetime. Of course, we're going to be in the future, and technology is going to be at a point in which that we're going to be able to transfer our minds into an AI or into a robot. I truly believe that is going to be possible. But in this current lifetime, as we see ourselves, impossible. It's not going to happen, right? And so by extension, people have to understand that Oh, well, I'm talking about my personal experience. I know that I'm on the self-improvement journey and shit. And whenever I'm near people who are belittling themselves, who talk shit about themselves, who don't eat right, who don't work out, who don't fucking clean their rooms, who don't make their beds, it's like, how else am I gonna think of you? We're not equal. I don't do the shit you do. I make my bed every morning. I pray every morning. You go on TikTok and hit your vape, and in the very first thing you do, I get a glass of water and I drink that and I go do fucking 50 push-ups. We're not the fucking same. We're not the same. Seriously. So in a way, I wouldn't see that as toxic. I mean, you can interpret that in whatever way you see fit. But when you're on the self-improvement journey and you see people who are not, you can easily see we're not the same. We're not the same. You know, we don't think the
So,
same. We don't act the same.
so I was gonna add with my view is we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And the people that we see that vape and party and, don't eat healthy, don't work on their body, I was the same way. You know, I started damn near close to how they were. And yeah, right now I see them, I see how they act, I see how they're negative, I see how their habits are not leading them to the right path. But if I go out and be like, hey, change, you're doing this is bad for you. This is not working for you. They're not gonna listen to me because they don't see the results just yet, you know, just yet.
It ties in with what you said about ignorance. They're simply just ignorant and they don't want to see. They don't see that vision. They don't see the
Yeah,
vision. It ties in with
exactly.
what you said.
And when you understand that you give them some points, like, hey, you should probably do this because it helps you this way instead of like coming at them. And then if they see, okay, let's try it. And even at the end of the day, they don't take your advice, be like, that's fine, I was the same way as you. You probably got to find it later on in life. You're probably going to learn about it later on in life. You're probably going to go through something and you have to go through that challenge and improve yourself later on. Or at the end of the day, you might not even go through it. It's people's it's people's life like that. But if I'm able to influence, or I know we're going to be in the status of influence where we're going to change people's lives, and if they see from where I started and to where we're going to be, where we are in the future, they're gonna be like, okay, so he did it. He was telling me this way before then, and I might as well just start now. You know, if he was doing it, I could do it too.
And we mustn't allow future to only be the point in which that we can influence people. We can influence people now
Or
simply by
yeah,
the way we speak. You know, I don't know if I told y'all. It was like back in high school or something. There was this one dude who used to go to the gym that I went to, TFAM, and he was asking me like, "Yo, bro, can you help me with my deadlifts and shit like that? This is not with the woo." And I said, "Yeah, bro. Like, what are you trying to do?" He's like, "I'm trying to do sumo." And I'm like, "Okay." I taught him how to do sumo, and we chopped it up for a little bit, and we've had talks here and there, but I haven't spoken to him in over 3 years. And he DM'd me a couple months ago saying, "Bro, this is me deadlifting 450 for one. And it's all because you taught me the right form, all because you taught me how to truly do this fucking exercise and everything about form and everything about working out, etc. I thank you, bro. Thank you." And bro, I low-key kind of teared up, bro, because it was like that the instant interaction you had with him influenced the way of how he saw exercise. And it ended up for him to fucking pull 450 pounds off the ground. Right.
mm,
And so that shit gives me goosebumps talking about it because it's like if I'm able to influence just one person, how many people can we all influence together collectively? And so it's powerful. It's
It's
powerful.
big and powerful.
That's really big. That's really
yeah.
amazing.
And
I
it
was
goes,
over.
sorry.
I was gonna go on to whole new tangent. You could finish your point.
And it goes in with what I sent y'all about from the little what's that sign thing, the little sign thing that restaurants have and shit. This is from a church. One may give freely and gain even more. Providence 1124. Providence 1124. And it's so when you give something, if you give free value, if you give something to someone freely with no sort of asking for something back, you will gain so much more. And what I gain from that is how much influence that humans are capable of, positive influence at that. And so that's what I've gained from that DM, That's what I gained, that I've influenced him without even knowing. I just freely gave him exercise tips because it's like I love exercise, I love fitness. So I'm like, yo, just you don't even have to pay me, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, hey, this and this, boom, boom, boom. Oh, let me just deadlift 450. How many people do you know can deadlift 450, bro? So
Uh,
So the point, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's honestly great. Influencing people. That was a big story. That was a good story. I was gonna say, I was reacting earlier to what Med was saying about self-improvement. And the particular thing you were saying was the toxicity of it.
mhm.
And tell me why that was my first podcast idea. I have the podcast ideas right here. Oh wow. Podcast
Oh,
idea.
The AI is not gonna catch
First
it.
one, the first one I wrote was, are you actually improving? Which is kind of encapsulates the same type of concept. Are you actually improving? I think that's a great topic for the first self, self improvement podcast. That's a good first topic. And I was going to ask you guys, what are ways to ensure that you are actually improving, and also not even just talk about that, but talk about the ways that people mistake themselves as doing self improvement, but they're not actually improving. They're not actually improving.
So I
measurable.
wanna go off with how to check yourself in self-improvement. So the way I see it is like how we talked about earlier, or I don't know about earlier in this podcast, but in a sense, breaking down yourself at the level you're at right now. And if you started the self-improvement journey, you will realize the results if you actually break down what level you're at right now. You do it at the beginning. You'd be like, okay, what am I right now? What am I doing? What is helping me improve what I gotta do? What status do I want later on? And then once you do that at the beginning, then you start doing good habits, good start listening to good content, good media. And if you want to check yourself, do the same exercise. Be like, okay, how did I improve from when I started? If you've been going to the gym, you can see the strength you've gained. If you've been listening to good content and like financial advice, um, trading advice, or just anything that's in your industry or whatever you're passionate about, you realize that you push a little bit towards to that things and actually committed to doing the actions. And you realize, okay, I actually did this, which before I would have not done that. And okay, I feel a little bit more confident now because before I wouldn't be able to talk to as many people. You know, you kind of just break yourself down at each level. That's how I would see how to check if you're really, really improving.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
break it down. Yeah, I think with any big problem, that's something that I applied to the concept in my life early on in the self improvement phase was when you have a big problem, the best thing to do is to break it down. For sure.
I agree, and by simply measuring as well, because proof is what you analyze, right? And so if you analyze yourself in the gym, working out, journaling, okay, I was able to lift 65 pounds on incline bench. 2 weeks from now, I'm able to lift 75 pounds. Therefore, I've gained 10 pounds in strength. And so that in its own is motivation to continue to keep progressing, to continue to keep going, you know? And you can measure confidence as well. Like for example, let's say 1 week I wasn't able to talk to a girl, and the next week I'm able to talk to whatever girl, whoever I set my eyes on, I will go up and talk to them. So about measuring, and you can do it physically, you can measure on a journal, or you can just subconsciously measure, consciously measure, you know, and yeah, that's a good point.
For me, this is a harder question to answer because it's like one of my first things I was gonna say before Jose was gonna speak was how do I even quantify how much I've, grown? Because one of my I guess my downfalls is I'm really bad at um like actually acknowledging the work I've done and seeing like how much growth I've had because I tend to, I guess, disregard it because it's like, oh, if I've done it, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, oh, if I recorded something today with at an event, it's like, okay, I'm just moving the camera around and okay, that's done. Or if I just ace the exam, okay, I did that. Like I'm really quick to do that. So for me, it's actually a pretty hard question. Like, how do I even quantify how much I've grown on my self-improvement journey? Because I know the things that I've changed and I know the things that I've done, but it almost feels as though like I haven't changed, even though like I can see the change in my body, I can see the change in how I think, or I can feel the change in how I think, but it almost subconsciously almost feels like I haven't changed. I don't know if I don't know if you guys struggle with this, but for me, that's where my struggle is at. It's understanding that I have changed, or I don't know. Is there any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I would
I mean,
say,
yeah, Josh.
yeah, I would say, I guess the first thing is self. There's a word, it just escapes me right now. But now, no longer recognizing yourself as being bad at it, and recognizing yourself as building that skill. Because it really is a skill to be able to look back and reflect and say, okay, I've gone this far. Um, but also that I would like to say that concept that you said is kind of a positive and a negative. The positive is that you're just going to keep going, you're just going to keep improving. But the negative is that you might not feel the happiness of improving. Um, but the positive is that you're just going to keep going because you feel like it's nothing. Where you're not going to be like, okay, I did enough, and sit back in your chair. Um, but it's also
Hmm.
good to look back and be like, okay, I actually did this and I did that. In terms of being able to look back and be like, okay, I did this, I did that. The answer that I'm going to give might not be the best because it involves Snapchat, but I like to go on Snapchat and look at my 1 year, 2 year, 3 year ago memories. Be like, oh, that's what I was on. Okay, like I'm doing the right thing now. I mean, that's really all I use Snapchat for. I don't Snapchat anybody, but I like to go back and see. Oh, I was doing this 1 year ago today, 3 years ago today, 4 years ago today, and uh, that's that's basically my answer. Namdi, you can give your answer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Utilizing Snapchat. Um, but self-reflection is huge. Self-reflection is definitely huge. And I mean, I guess we'll tie into my last point, but it is pretty difficult to try to measure or quantify how much you've changed over a period of years. But what you can do is to simplify it down into a funnel, right? Let's say, how have I improved myself communication wise? Have I increased my grammar? Have I increased my eloquence? Have I lessened the amount of ums and stutters and pauses in my speeches? Or let's say, in working out, fitness, is my nutrition a lot better than what it was last year? Am I faster? Is my endurance higher? Is my stamina higher? And you can do it in intelligence. What new things do I know now that I didn't know last year? So like utilizing multiple different measurements and variation and variables, right? And seeing where you've improved in each one can definitely tie in all together into seeing how much you've improved over the course of a couple of years or a few months. So that's another
Mm.
way.
See, mine, my thoughts. It's a little what I'm about to say. It's a little bit. It's been like through a lot of things, and a lot of people interpret it different. But I was just gonna say, basically self love, man. It's just knowing that the things you just did, the things you've been through, you did it. And you should be good about it. You'd be like, damn, I did that, man. damn, I just filmed this event right now, and later on, we're still gonna keep building this business. We're still gonna keep doing more events, and I'm able to experience new things, experience meet different people, and then even with like working out too. Damn, I just did 2 plates easy, or I did later on 315 easy. Like, dang man, I feel good. I feel great. It's just loving yourself. Be like, yeah, I did that.
Mm.
That's that's me. I'm a champion. I'm a champion. Like damn, I just did it.
Yeah.
It's and self love. It's been kind of thrown out too much. A lot of people say you gotta love yourself the way you are. You gotta love yourself no matter how you are. But if you're not doing things that are really benefiting you, you're basically just hating yourself.
Yeah. No, that's
You're not
facts though,
doing.
because I remember something, what book was it from? But I guess the book doesn't matter, it's just the concept in general. But it said to treat yourself like you're taking care of somebody. If your mom was sick, you're
Um,
not
Here we
gonna
go.
hand her a TikTok
that's
and
live
hand her some
Jordan
chips
Peterson. That was Jordan
and
Peterson.
hand her Netflix. Here's TikTok, Netflix, chips, and some more diabetes. And there you go. You're like, no, you're gonna keep her room clean if if you really care for your mother. Keep her room clean, feed her the proper nutrients. You should treat yourself like that, and that's true self love. And man, I was gonna go into something better that I did for the first time ever. I'm getting towards the end of my journal, and the other day I decided, let me just look back at what I was doing at the first page. I read my first journal entry and I was able to see the contrast to what I was doing. And not only that, how we were talking about the frequencies, since I was on that frequency before, it was almost like I was able to tune into the frequency that I used to think at in that journal entry. And I was like, wow, I used to really think like that. I can literally imagine and envision, no, relive, because I actually did do it, no longer imagining. I was able to relive that feeling that I had when I wrote that. And I was able to just get out and be like, whoa, why was I feeling this way? That was stupid. Anyways, back to reality. But read back to the old journal entries. And that made me want to write journal entries way more because I was able to read what we were doing. Because I was talking about us in this apartment, what we were doing a year ago. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I'm reading this stuff. But that makes me want to write down in the journal so much more. And I'll keep this part short, but I actually just started a subscription on Notion for $10 a month, and it allows you to upload any size file to your Notion. So what I do now for the morning thoughts and the nightly thoughts part of the Notion, I record a video instead of writing. So when I go back a year from now, I won't just have the words that I have, but I'll have a video of me saying the things that I said. It might come in handy later. I'll probably use it for a YouTube video or something. But
Yeah.
but yeah, and it doesn't even save on your phone. It saves to Notion's database. So it's not taking up storage on your phone either. Just something you guys can consider.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes me want to lock down my journaling some more. Like be
Yeah.
more detailed in what I'm doing and how I'm doing
Exactly.
it.
Detailed.
Yeah.
So
That
how do
day
you
in the
feel
review.
about how do you feel about what we said to you right now with the advice?
Yeah. I mean, everything you guys said is for me it's eye-opening because like I wasn't thinking like this before. It's like I didn't have the idea. I almost thought it was like I would be stuck in that sense and like and even still now, even though I have the information you guys gave me, I still have like a lingering thought. It's like, okay, I'm trying to think back to the time I threw up 225 for like 12. And I was like, I'm like in my head, I'm like, I know that's a lot. I know a lot of people can't do that, but it's like for my metrics, I think about like, bro, like that's not shit for real. Because I've seen DK Metcalf, so comparison is the thief of joy for real. But at the same time, I'm still taking the information that you guys are saying. It's like, okay, yeah, I can still think back to the time I threw 315 for bench. I'm like, okay, yeah, I did feel good as fuck for that. But I remember I got up, I started like 20 feet in the air, like from the bench. Like I was up in
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
air. Yeah, I remember that time in the weight room, Coach Pick, he was looking at me, our strength coach for football. I remember that feeling. I was like, okay, yeah, like I can I can take that feeling that I felt that one day, and I can kind of like almost apply it to my other achievements that I've done before. So I can do that for real. Like I don't have to belittle the stuff that I did before just because it's like, oh, I did it. I don't know. I just got, like you said, Jose, it's like self-love. I just gotta appreciate it. I think that's one thing I gotta work on, like gratitude and like being appreciative of like everything that I've done. Like I'm real quick to appreciate everybody else's work and what they do for me and what they do for themselves. And like, oh shoot, Namdi, he ran a 5K in like how many minutes? Dang, that's crazy. He's special. If I do the same thing, I'm like, it's just me. I gotta quit that. That's I gotta stop that. I'm seeing it now. That's a good way to like all three of the ways that you guys provide me is like those are beneficial. Yeah, big time.
So, so the way you're saying right now, it's like you didn't, I guess, thought about it to yourself and you gave that energy to other people, right? You appreciate
Yeah.
other people, right? That's one thing I listened at the beginning when I was listening to, there's just like Spotify playlist where it's like motivational speeches. And I listened to that a long time ago, or not a long time ago, a couple months ago. Every morning I went to the gym and got hype, listening to people talking about their lives and stuff. And I don't remember who it was, the speaker, but he said one thing that really stuck out to me. And I was like, okay. He basically said, in order to be giving your fullest self to people, you got to be selfish. And in the terms, selfish is if you're not at the highest level, at your spiritually, mentally, physically, and you're not working on yourself first, how do you think you're going to do the same for everybody else? Because you're not there yet. How are you going to give that information to other people if you're not there yet, if you're not working towards
Mhm.
it? So be selfish in the sense of like, okay, yeah, I got to appreciate myself because I'm doing this. Nobody else is doing this. And then with that in turn, you'll be able to help and appreciate more people, I guess, better and give a better input, make them feel better.
That's big. So that just makes me think like back to like why I have this kind of mindset of like I guess belittling my achievements. And I mean I already know the answer because it's like I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a household full of all women. Like my mom would bring her sisters and she would like house them and help them through school. Uh, my mom and dad got divorced in like '07, so my dad went back to Africa, then to Malaysia, and he's like a professor over there or something. And then so I just stayed with my mom, and then my grandma and my aunts that would come through. And it's like I remember any little thing that I did, whether it be good or bad, it was always like a negative comment that was like applied with it. I would come back from a basketball game. And this is like seventh grade. I just got back from Africa. I spent three years there. And, I'm not that good at basketball. But I'm decent. I'm okay. So I get a couple points. I get home. It's like, dang, you didn't. How much you score? I had like 8 points. That's all. That's all this negative, negative, negative. And it was really this one on. I'm not gonna name her name. I don't know if she's gonna watch it, but uh, she would kill me. Like her negative talk. And my mom, like, I talked to my mom recently about this, and she was like, "Yeah, it's true. I wish she had told me this earlier that she was like pushing you guys down for real, because she would push us down a lot. Like when it comes to sports, school. We used to go to Kumon. This is like a
Kuman,
education
yeah.
place. Yeah, y'all remember that. And we get done with that. And it's like, oh, I missed one or two questions on a little packet, and she's going crazy, like, "Oh, you're not smart. You're this. You're that." Da, da, da." I'm like, "Damn, I just got a 98." Or I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's like I'm seeing me having that understanding of like why I feel this way towards my achievements and where that stems from. It's almost like a trauma in a sense, you know? So I
Yeah.
just have to be able to take grasp of that and have you guys around me and, enlighten me on that self-love and self-appreciation stuff, you know?
Yeah,
And I
facts.
appreciate that.
When you're younger, your subconscious is a lot more open. So the fact that those things were said to you at such a young age, at such a naive age, open age, an exposed age, let those ideologies linger in your mind when you're grown up. Like, oh, you don't even know why you're feeling like, oh, it's not a big deal when I get an A in a class. I'm not even smart. You know, and it's just being positive. Glass half empty, glass half full. You missed two questions. Oh, you missed two questions. You're dumb. Or oh, you only missed two questions. Next time you can miss no questions. Like you're on your way
Yeah.
up. The same. Yeah, man. It's just
All I
Yeah.
all I have to say is your aunt or whoever in your family, you can't blame them, It's basically what they've been raised to be like.
Mm.
The way they're acting is the way their parents act. The way the parents they're acting back then is the way their grandparents act. Their parents. It's just a cycle. And
Mm.
I talked to Josh about this when he was here over the break.
hurt
It's a
people, hurt
cycle of
people.
hatred. It's the high cycle of hatred. No matter how long it's been, it's going to continue going unless you, us, as an individual, break that cycle and understand that what happened with that, with your aunt, them belittling you, does not go and affect you the same way. You don't do the same thing later on to somebody else, or even to yourself, or to your kids, or to your nephews, nieces. It's
Mm.
breaking that cycle, and you surrounding yourself with people like us and learning concepts that your family never heard of, they never heard those concepts, and you're able to apply it to yourself and improve yourself. You're already breaking it. You're breaking the cycle of hatred, and later on,
Mm.
the cycle will end with you. That
That's
submission
big.
cycle will end with you.
That's big. I didn't even think of that. The cycle of hatred. God,
Oh,
God, dang.
Champion.
Champion. How do you get that?
hey, champion shirts
Hey
coming real
man,
soon. Samples coming in. Get your pre-orders.
Yup. That's gonna be hard.
But
Get
that's
making
huge,
designs.
bro. Because there's definitely like regarding generations, there's always a cycle that people find themselves in. And whether it's like an addiction cycle, whether their family has had addiction or compulsive disorders, etc., you can stop that cycle through your way of thinking and through your actions, and it obviously starts with thought. Everything starts with thought, everything starts with thought, no matter whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's something that you do on autopilot, your subconscious or a part of your conscious mind is working to fulfill that autopilot mechanic, for example, brushing your teeth, for example. There's a way of thought with that. And so with breaking the cycle, you have to first think that you can break the cycle. I can break the cycle. I know I can. Okay, what do I have to do? All right. This and this and this, X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? So it's good stuff. That's very powerful. It's huge. But
Yeah,
you know,
that's big.
it,
You said X,
and
Y,
it's
Z.
yeah, I said Z, bro.
you,
Z, nigga.
you
Z.
think I ain't catch it? And he from Europe.
Z.
He from Africa.
Yeah. You say Z.
Z. Y'all
but
don't know Z is how to say Z on the other half of the world.
Oh, okay.
Nigga
Yeah,
call me, bro.
Z.
So that was the conclusion of the first Champions Chamber podcast, in which we will be talking about everything that encapsulates prosperity, wealth, success, and most importantly, peace.
Mm.
The champion should. Men,
Ah.
champions.
Just out. Ah!